Hey y'all, happy Sunday. This week we are talking about leadership, and leadership in all the ways that that might mean. So not leadership just in your career or even just in your home or family, but leadership in all the ways that it is expressed, accessed, and or accepted. So leadership is at the forefront of my mind, right? So in creating prolific shifts, it's really thinking about how to support leaders in schools and educational environments and all those things. And then this edge of prolific shifts is thinking about how to get people to reimagine or re-envision or reflect on their worlds in a way that gives you more of a capacity to make a shift or any kind of change in your world. And though that's not particular to the educational environment, a lot of that is accessing leadership or initiative, right? Leadership over our own lives, over our decisions, and over what we make time for, what we make space for, right? That's so much of that is what I think are leadership skills, right? I think sometimes we think about leadership and it's who's authoritative, who's this, who's that. But we're going to go, I hope we go actually in a different direction, maybe not necessarily in this video, but in your interaction with the question this week. So for episode 22 of the Prolific Shift Sunday Sit Down, our question is, where, how, and why have you expressed and accepted leadership? So I'm trying something a little new this time. So not starting with the welcome to episode 22, but bringing it into the middle so that people who are watching or just kind of scrolling by have a sense of what's going on early on in the video. So we started with leadership. I introduced the question, and now I'm going to introduce myself. So I'm Janae Peters. I am the founder, CEO, chief administrator, COO, both the Dumbledore and the McGonagall of Prolific Shifts. And I'm excited to bring a question and action item here in this space almost every week, not every week, to get us started on our journeys, but like for the week, for the year, for the next few years, whatever that means or looks like for you. So when I think about this one, I'm maybe a little upbeat and maybe overcompensating a bit, but not really. I'm just kind of vibing right now. But this question or this thought on leadership has come after a lot of reflection, after a great loss that a lot of us in my world are experiencing right now. So my family's church pastor, Reverend Teresa Hatcher, passed away, and to me, she was the exemplar of leadership. And that's not just a grief reflection. I was able to say that to her. And I really thought about how when people would, like when I would have evaluations at work about leadership or, with some commentary or feedback, and I would hear things that people would say, and I'm like, wow, I think I definitely got that from her, or I know that I'm channeling her or imagining her as I think about what it looks like to lead in this way. And so in my experience of her, she has been such a phenomenal leader and has also taken on lots of burdens in her role, lots of responsibilities. And when I think about her, I think a lot about, where do leaders get supported, or what does support look like for leaders? And that's a bit of what Prolific Shifts in its other spaces also hoping to answer, right? Like, what does it look like to be supported in your leadership? And what does it look like when that's not necessarily a position or title, but just sort of how you express or what you do, which is something that I'm working to become a little more comfortable with myself. And so when I think about this question for myself, the where, how, and why do you express and accept leadership? I think I have tended to express leadership in the areas where I feel most passionate. It doesn't always have to be where I have the most expertise, but where I feel most passionate. So where my values are kind of shining through. For example, work is always going to be one, but in particular at work, so I work at a school, but in particular, it's in spaces where we're thinking about how to support students, like their well-being and success. But I would say probably, definitely well-being and growth. And when I think about those spaces, I have a strong sense not necessarily of how it should happen, but that something should happen and that it's likely much more, it needs to be much more intentional and much more imaginative than anything we've done so far. And so when I express leadership sometimes in those spaces, it's in reaction to or in anticipation of something like that. And when I think of other areas where I express leadership, it's also in a growing way, in terms of growing in its intention. It's in really thinking about the value of collective care in elevating experiences for folks who are in the global majority, even if not the US majority, but really thinking about what it looks like to elevate and expand our worlds. I have started to express leadership in those capacities, still somewhat in the professional space, but also in a growing capacity in social spaces and in really any space that anyone will listen. When I think about where, how, and why I accept leadership, that's an interesting one. I think we all, I don't know why I just said I think we all. I know that I struggle sometimes to accept leadership when I don't get the sense that someone's heart is in it, right? I am very liable to not respond to and maybe even be a little antagonistic to someone whose heart doesn't seem to be in what they're leading. Leadership for the sake of leading, it's a no-go for me in terms of accepting that from someone else. But when I do accept, it's because I get the sense that people are putting love at the center of what they're doing, or that they experience passion in that realm, and that they're sharing that and oozing that. And even if I can't get on with everything that they're offering, I know that it's coming from a place of love, care, and connection. So that tends to be what I accept. When I think of what I've accepted in the longest in my world, right? I also think about the ways in which I've accepted people who have desired to lead from the center, which is not about being authoritative, which is not about being hardcore, like iron fisted, but is about trying to understand how to leverage connection, authentic connection. Oh, that's the thing, authentic connections. We'll talk more about that soon. But how to leverage authentic connection with others in order to move something forward. That's leadership that I have tended to accept. So again, this question is where, how, and why do you express and accept leadership? And my hope is that you take that and you don't think just about your work, your role, your position, or where you get paid to lead, but that you think about the skills that are inherent in leadership, whatever that means and looks like for you. So not the way people say it is, but what you think it is. So where are the spaces where you have expressed initiative, where you have facilitated something moving, changing, or growing, where you have served as a catalyst for something shifting, where you have been creative and generative and done something different, whether that's in your home life, your social life, your professional life, any other lives you lead. Think about that. And as the action item for this week, identify 3 ways that you express and access leadership. And 3 ways or 3 experiences where you've accepted someone else's leadership. As you count those, name those, reflect on those, know what you can learn from any of those spaces about leadership and connection for you, and things that you want to carry with you into future experiences. So try to name 2 of those things and get there. Again, as always, this is always a good time to me, being able to share the kinds of things that I'm thinking about and the ways in which I'm shifting and hoping to shift with you all. Let me know, as always, what you're thinking about, what's coming up for you. And I look forward to connecting again soon. Take good care. Peace. If you liked anything you heard, please don't hesitate to comment, like, subscribe, or support in any of these ways, and especially through your love and care. Peace, and I'll see y'all again soon.